Hello, good morning. Welcome to Teeing Off with RevSportz. This is your host Ishan Shahane. I'm joined with Sneha Mukherjee, Raja Raman, and Bharat Ramraj will be joining us as well shortly. The Indian team is in New York, so we'll get started off with that topic first. Raja, we've seen some training photos. The boys are getting together. They're looking good. Do you think going early would help them in any way? Do you think they'll help them get, accustomed to the conditions? And how do you think this will benefit the side? Because you want to go there, new conditions altogether and you want to get settled in as soon as possible. So do you think going out there early, playing a few games like that warm-up game that we might see on first, how do you think this will help the side?
Morning, Ishan. I think it's very important that they've reached there early enough to be able to acclimatize to the time zone. I think more than the conditions, it's the body clock that need to adjust for so many of them because they've been in India playing the IPL and going to a completely different time zone, opposite of where we are. I think it's important. About 10 hours is what they need to make up. And I think it's critical that they've chosen to get there as early as now. They have games coming up. Ideally, would have wanted them to reach there maybe 10 days sooner. But then you had the IPL and then the World Cup is on at the same time. I think it's important that they've got there and they're able to adjust their body clocks to US times. I think that to me is the most important part because I think the condition they've been able to adapt to pitches. They've been able to play on fast track, on really dull tracks as well. So I think as professional cricketers, they are able to do that. But it's important that they get there sooner. Just give you an example, Ishan. I will take not more than 30 seconds to do that.
Please. Yeah.
The Indian 4 into 400 relay teams, I'm talking about athletics here, got to the US and the Bahamas because the World Athletics Relay Challenge was in the Bahamas. Again, similar time zone to where the cricketers are. 1 month, they got there 1 month before and they were able to nail qualification places. I think it's very important that you get over this time zone difference and not just jet lag, but the very fact that you're going to a very different time zone. Very important to get there soon.
Absolutely, Raja. I think it's a valid point there because it's such a big time difference that your body actually needs time to get used to different conditions and that time gap. Sneha, there's a warm-up match that's coming up. I've been wanting to ask you this question. Do you think India has the option to experiment in this warm-up match, or would you suggest playing the 11 that you're going to play when that World Cup starts? Do you think it's safe to experiment, or would you just recommend this team, or just stick to your playing 11 that you're actually going to go out and play with?
Good morning, everyone. Steve, I think in the warm-up match, you have the opportunity to play every player of your squad, right? So I think it's the best time to see most of the players of your squad in action in that match. Uh, and what I say in previous lives also that in the warm-up match and in the first two matches, this is the best option for you to pick a second playing even before the most important Pakistan match in the group stage. So I think in the Bangladesh warm-up match, India should look to play most of the boys, especially those boys who are not in great in the IPL. They are not in great form, like Shivam Dubey. You can mention Sanju Samson also because Sanju started the tournament well, but at the end of the IPL, he was not looking at that test at that time. So I think those boys who are not in that kind of form, which were looking 1 month before they put the name team for the World Cup. I think this tournament could be a good match for them, good opportunity for them, and obviously the time zone great one from Rajasthan, and the weather atmosphere. Obviously, you have to get accustomed and the pitch condition also. In the one of match, you might get to know a little bit about the pitch, how the pitch will work, how the will come into play, will the spacer will come into play or not in the first 6 over. So overall, I think India should get their maximum players in that one match to get to put them in action who are in that touch or not, and then they can pick their best level for the first two matches. And hopefully, because the most important match, we are having a solid playing level.
Absolutely. And you're right, Snesh. I think that warm-up match will give them an idea, even though it's not enough maybe, but some idea of who's going to go out and really perform and who's looking in really good touch. So valid points there. Bharat, Raja mentioned preparations. Do you think the Indian team will prepare in a different way because they're in the United States? Do you think preparation from different countries matter? Like, if you're in India, do you think you'd prepare in a different way? If you're in Australia, would you prepare in a different way? And if you're in the States, would you prepare in a different way? So, do you think this team would prepare in a very different way?
Yeah, there's an obvious question that they would prepare in different way because different conditions require different type of preparations. You go to Australia, there would be more bounce, even bounce. You go to South Africa, it could be spongy bounce. It could you could go to USA, maybe it could be on the slower side. So I've not seen a lot of games from USA in terms of cricket. A few games I've seen, but in different countries, obviously, you would prepare in different ways. India also take into consideration that jet lag factor. All these points come into the equation. Yeah, hopefully they're in good space. First of all, that is the main thing. You go into a world tournament like this, where you play a slew of matches, you need to be in good space. You need to feel like, yeah, we'll go there and win matches from the start. Because if you lose a
Hmm.
game or two at the start, then it could be you could be in a really spot of bother. Obviously, they will get through the first round, but I'm just telling you, you lose a game or two somewhere, and you will feel like, oh, it's spot of bother. So they have to be in good space. Hopefully, they are in, and yeah, the preparations will be different because
Yeah.
the conditions are different.
Yeah, valid point. Raja, Dilip Venksatkar made a comment here that the Indian team are favorites to go on to win the World Cup. It's a bold statement because we've discussed this in the past that maybe this team doesn't look as strong in comparison to other teams. But what are your thoughts? Do you think maybe this Indian team does have that depth to go on and win this World Cup, or compared to the other teams, just maybe not right there at the moment?
It's not just the Indian team. There are a lot of senior players in several other teams. It's not as if all of them have come with really young sides made for T20, but the Indian side has got plenty of experience. And it's good to go into a tournament as the underdog rather than as the overwhelming favorites. Okay, a lot of us grow up watching a lot of Indian cricket. It's very important that we give them the space. And I think the fact that all of us, most of us, think that this Indian team is not capable of winning the tournament, and we will be happy if it makes the semi-final. When we are speaking on those terms, the pressure on the team gets less, and I think
Yeah.
that is what Dilip Venksatkar is probably alluding to. Uh, Very seasoned pro, somebody who's played at the highest level, who's been chairman of selectors. He understands how teams react to pressure, and I think that is probably is what hinting at that this side is now not being rated as a favorite, and therefore perhaps it stands a better chance of winning the ICC World 2020.
Yeah.
Just talking about preparation, Ishan, I think the basics are the same for no matter where you're playing, no matter which part of the world you're playing. You have to back your basics and you've got to keep them in good shape. I think this Indian team is very capable of doing all of that. Just want to add one more thing, Nishan. There's a lot of talk about how Virat Kohli has not joined the team so far and how it is affecting the team. I just want to remind everybody that Australia played a warm-up game with just 9 players. It
Yeah.
included its fielding coach and other coaches to be part of the fielding outfit, and they won. They won that game. They're not complaining about five, six of their players not joining the team in time. I think as Indians, we need to mature as cricket fans. We need to mature as people who follow the game, as students of the game, and understand that if the team is okay with one or two players coming late, so be it.
Yeah.
We always talk about how Australia is a champion side. Australia has allowed five of its players to come late. So I guess we need to be a little bit more understanding of the game. I know maybe I'm talking like an old timer, very old fashioned uh, critique, but I think it's important for us to grow up as students of the game.
No, I think you're right, Raja. I completely agree with you, and I think panelists as well will agree with you on that point. Sneashish, there's been a lot of talk about Gautam Gambhir, possibly the next head coach. What are your thoughts on this? I've been speaking to a lot of people, including Rohit, Shubair, Boryada. I would like to know what you think as well. Gautam Gambhir, most likely to be India's next head coach. Your first thoughts?
Yes, I think personally I am very happy that hearing that he is now the front runner of the race, and I think as per the latest report, he is personally thinking about that also. So I think overall, if he becomes the new head coach of the team India, I think it will be good for Indian cricket. but the result will come or not, that the time will tell. Because when Rahul Dravid came into the scene, the stature of the player Rahul Dravid was, we also thought that a lot of good things will happen, we will win trophies, and good a good team will build up and all. But if you see the results were not up to the mark in terms of winning trophies. Uh, again, the satisfactory performance like final exit, and only bilateral wins and also overall. If you ask me, the Gambhir's appointment, yeah, people will think that the IPL success, recent IPL success that he has managed to as a mentor for LSG two playoffs and then now the KKR success. But again, the IPL and international team is a complete different grade, right?
Yeah.
Because IPL, you manage 15, 20 people for 2, 3 months, but in international team, you have to manage a group of people for 10, 11 months, and there you are not there to teach many things to many players. You are there to management. The management skill have to be
Yes.
taught. So there you have many big players. So you have to manage those big players. So I think it is going to be very difficult. But if he really becomes the new head coach, it will be interesting to see how he manage those things and see if India can manage to win big trophies or not.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bharat, Gautam Gambhir is a very mission-driven individual. So he's gotten a lot of success for KKR. Do you think he's thinking on the same lines for the Indian team that, we haven't won an ICC trophy in the longest time? Maybe getting someone like Gautam Gambhir on board possibly increases those chances. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Gautam Gambhir obviously is someone who's very driven, but I also add that India need a good bowling coach. India definitely need a good bowling coach as well, because if you see India's bowlers the last couple of years, that plans have not been, their execution has not been that great. If you look at even Test cricket, Centurion Test or Edgbaston Test, you look at limited overs cricket too in the big matches. I'm not thinking about World Cup first 2, 3, fourth round or something like that. When Plan A didn't work against Travis Head, what exactly was the plan there against Travis Head? So these are the few things that we have to also look at. I think going into the Australia tour as well. If you look at the 2020-2021 Australia tour, India won with T. Natarajan, India won with Shardul Thakur, and all these bowlers. So a lot of credit has to go to Bharat Tarun there, because I think he prepared those bowlers. And I'm not seeing the same thing with someone like Prasidh Krishna goes and bowls at Centurion. He does the same mistakes every single day, doing the same mistakes that you shouldn't do on a track with spongy bounce and a track that was seaming around. So somewhere some problem is there with the management. I don't know whether isn't listening to it, or the plans aren't right plans aren't made by the bowling coach or whatever it is. But I think India also need a good bowling coach. I also want to add that India about winning the T20 World Cup, 2024 World Cup. See, T20 cricket, if you get a bit of momentum, you can then any formidable side can go on to win the World Cup. You look at England in 2022, they lost Ireland. Remember, they lost Ireland, then they beat Sri Lanka, then they beat New Zealand, they beat India, and then they beat Pakistan and won the World Cup. So I think if India get a bit of momentum, who knows, they might win the World Cup. Obviously, they have to play with freedom. When they come to semis or finals, I think the biggest problem with the Indian team is they seem to feel the pressure and don't play their game. It's not about talent. I think it comes down to that. If they do that, India can also win the World Cup.
Yeah. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you for those valid points. Raja, there's a question for us here. We'll address it. Sir, in an interview yesterday, Gautam Gambhir said he wants to make KKR the most successful franchise. Does this mean he's not going to coach the Indian team? Please reply, because obviously he's very close to this KKR franchise. But what do you think? How do you think this is going to unfold? Do you think a discussion has already been taking place with the KKR franchise? And it's going to be a difficult leave to move aside from KKR after this victory. But how would you see this whole scenario unfolding?
Great question, that Alok. But I think the first thing we have to tell ourselves is that at the present moment, Gautam Gambhir is still mentor of KKR, and he can only speak about what he's got on his hand. He's not going to tell us about what plans he has got with the Indian team, if he's going to get the job or not. Even he may not be 100% sure. While conversations might be happening, while his name has been dropped in uh, plenty of circles, and he might actually take over the job. We will get to hear about his plans for India. He might tell us then that he wants to make India the most successful combination going around in the world when he takes over that job. So his point of view at this point of time is very restricted to being mentor of KKR, and therefore he's speaking on this term. I don't think we should keep anticipating or reflecting on everything that he says and does. We just have to be patient, wait for the cricket board to make a decision. There is a committee that sits and decides on the application. We've been told there has been some 3,000 applications, including from some famous names, obviously fake profiles. But we'll have to wait and watch what really happened. There will be a shortlist. There will be an interview process. So there is time between now and when Gautam Gambhir is formally anointed as coach of the Indian team. They might even have to have an interview and ask him questions because he doesn't have coaching experience. He's got mentoring experience. Does he have coaching experience? Has he coached a Ranji Trophy side? We've heard the board secretary tell some media people that you want somebody to have risen from the ranks. So has Gautam Gambhir, besides being captain of the Delhi Ranji side and captain of KKR and Delhi Capitals, did he have the experience of coaching a good side for an extended period of time? So maybe this committee will consider all of that. And until that time, Gautam can only talk about what he wants to do with KKR. I think we'll have to accept that and not read too much into it that he doesn't want the job. Obviously, anybody will want that job of the Indian coaches side.
Fair point, Raja. Thank you. And yes, I think with time we'll come to know how this situation unfolds. It's the end of our morning show. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Raja. Thank you, Sneha.
I'll stop you for just that minute before we bid farewell to our viewers. They're amazing. Just want to share this amazing news that Pragnananda beat Magnus Carlsen for the first time in a classical match. He's beaten Carlsen before, but in time shortened games, in blitz games. But for the first time to beat him in a classical game. And I read this morning that Carlsen challenged him with a very innovative and risky opening, and that Pragnananda was able to overcome that. He took the fight on himself, and he went on to beat Carlsen. I think it's a great achievement today, something that we really need to celebrate.
Thank you, Raja. Thank you for mentioning that. I think it's very important that we mention all these amazing achievements as well. So thank you so much for that, Raja. Thank you, Sneha. Thank you, Bharat. And thank you to everyone who's joined. We hope you enjoyed it. There's another show, as you know, at 11 a.m. It's a Hindi show. So make sure that you tune into that as well. It's going to be very interesting. A lot of interesting discussions that are going to take place. So don't forget to tune into that as well. Besides that, stay tuned to RevSportz and continue following us, continue supporting us. That's what we need. That's what we need to grow as well. So thank you and stay tuned, and we'll see you all again tomorrow morning.